When snow encrusts the branches and turns the trees into ice sculptures, I get the feeling that light itself has been captured. Some remarkable alchemy is place between the weather and the spirit of the moors. Ice and snow are everything. The winds that bring the blizzards to these places and create these conditions pass swiftly, and those of us who witness their work are enormously privileged. It's like being given access to the divine imagination. Glazed ice and frost, what moor folk call the amyl, can transform a landscape to light. Then Dartmoor becomes a giant cut crystal with many facets. You feel you are walking across frozen light. It stands in fields like a crop of glass. But the beauty of it all can kill. Birds, animals, plants, trees, everything suffers. Yet there is a splendor capable of touching the soul like great music.
Even on a bad winter's day like this, badgers are still active. And at the mouth of the set, you can see their footprints, where last night they came out, had a look around, maybe retreated again into the chamber. Probably, if there is a sow underground now, she will have cubs. No one wants to keep badgers in pens, but we're forced to do it because of man's cruelty and because of bad ministerial policies.
Many of my badgers can be returned to the wild. Unfortunately, the Ministry of Agriculture implicated this species in bovine tuberculosis. This has resulted in the ministry frowning, understandably, if they really do believe in the badger spreading TB, of the translocation of badgers from one area to another, particularly in the southwest region. So if you have an animal brought into you, as I do, that perhaps its set has been completely destroyed, no way can that animal go back to where it came from, but at the moment neither can it be passed on to another area, so they're in limbo land, not possible to release them.
Well, we started the Dartmoor Badger Protection League in 1979 to try and prove to the ministry that the gassing of badgers was cruel. So then the gassing was stopped, and then they decided to cage trap and shoot the animals in the morning. And so the group now walks the sets every day. And if the ministry should come in, we shall take steps to remove whatever they put on our ground. For a fortnight, the ministry pelleted the sets with peanuts and plastic pellets, which the badgers swallow, and then when they use their latrines, the ministry can work out which way they travel, so that they can trap, you see. But for the whole fortnight that they did it, we picked them up and took them off the common. They know in themselves, in their own report, that the badger is not solely responsible. I mean, the badger is the cleanest mammal you'll ever find. It keeps its set scrupulous, changes its bedding, never takes food home.
Even my own captive badgers, no matter how many times you give them a clean bed, all it does is stimulates them to take it all outside and bring it in again. You never arrange their beds right.
Oh, blimey, there's back of them and taken down there too. Anybody else find anything? of note. Everybody's on about the badger baiting and digging, which has increased enormously since the ministry has been treating the badger as an unclean animal. And I feel until the ministry has been brought to a halt and the badger becomes a properly protected mammal, we will never stop badger digging or baiting.
Men with dogs go to sets. They put in the terrier, they locate the badger, then they dig down with pickaxes and spades until they locate the creature. Then, as if that's not enough, because the animal has now gone through all the permutations of terror and misery, they take an instrument like this, the badger tongs, they clamp it to the little animal hard, and they drag it out of the earth, and then they kill it with dogs. And this they call sport.
The fun was when you got the animal. Once you'd achieved it and you had the animal there, then the fun was to see how long it would take to die. And this is the tragedy, the real tragedy of the badger, that it's an immensely strong, physically strong mammal and great courage when cornered. It may be mortally injured, but it will take a long time dying.
I've seen a film personally of a baiting session that took 3 hours. It's a sort of betting thing. They put the dogs on the badgers, one dog after another. They can bet on how long the dogs will stay on the badger, how long it takes to kill the badger, this sort of thing. And at one point there were 8 dogs on the badger. What most people don't realise is badgers are very well protected against injury. They've got a nice thick layer of fat. So although they sustain terrible injuries, we've had broken legs and fractured jaws and bits missing, they very rarely actually get killed. And in this particular film that I saw, the badger was actually killed at the end by a blow to the head with a spade. So he went through 3 hours of torture before she was killed. Some men, if they're training younger dogs, will injure the badger in some way to give the dogs a better chance. Again, breaking jaws or tying a chain to one leg or breaking your leg, that sort of thing, to give the dogs a bit of a chance. I'm part of a group which is called the Plymouth RSPCA Wildlife Group. We cover most of Dartmoor. This time last year we found a sow, which is a female badger, in a snare. She had 2 snares around her abdomen. Took her and the snares to a veterinary surgeon who had to anaesthetise her to get the snares off. He found out she was pregnant, so we treated her as quickly as possible, gave her a couple of days to recover, searched the area for snares and put her back. We checked the area around the wall, the fields, for snares quite regularly now, and we haven't found any since. We patrol the whole area. There are sets that seem, for some unknown reason, to get dug time and time and time again. We watch those sets in particular. There's usually 2 of us doing it at once. Sometimes we get a tip-off that a set's going to be dug, and again, we'll literally stake that set out 24 hours a day. We've got 2-way radios, bugging devices, this sort of thing that we can use. Mainly, we rely on patrolling day and night if necessary.
A landscape that has lost depth, an unfinished watercolour with images crumbling to become part of the air. Lovely, eerie stillness of things melting into other things. Subdued colours, the atmosphere of change, a slow strengthening of sunlight.
It's February the 1st here on the banks of the Dart at Buckhurst Abbey. And today does something special to the hearts of certain men. For today, the salmon fishing season begins. And those addicts who have been denied the privilege of casting their lines in these waters for 4 months are now let loose on the banks.
I suppose the attraction of fishing is partly the background of being a hunter and partly that your prey is not visible, so that it is a total mystery. It might be an enormous fish there might be nothing, but to you always hope that there is something enormous, and many of them. It's remarkable how the opening day can be so good, but following days, not only fish that you've fished for, but throughout the river, the word seems to have got round that there is something dangerous afoot. And it is more difficult to catch a fish after that than the opening day. Even newly run fish straight from the sea are somehow aware of the possibility of peril. I think some scientists say that it's because of chemical signals, which are known as pheromones, which they fish. These are presumably fish that have been hooked and lost, or just during the course of being played, that they give off these signals, and fish following afterwards pick up this message.